you guys? Welcome back to Lily Reads. As you can tell by the title, we are going to discuss book subscription boxes. I am a subscriber to two book subscription boxes, Book of the Month and Aardvark. Aardvark is a new subscription box for me. I have never been subscribed to Aardvark until this year. And for the past 5-6 months, I've been clicking what book I want. I think I skipped 2 months and I've just been letting the books sit in my house. And I'm just like, I need to read these books. You guys know I do Book of the Month videos where I just dedicate a week, 2 weeks to reading all of my Book of the Month picks. I need to do that really soon because I have a lot of Book of the Month books stacked up. And I usually like most of the books I choose, so I continue to do Book of the Month. The thing with Aardvark is when it was the September picks, I did not like any of the book choices. And I decided to cancel my subscription. I'm just like, I'm not reading the books that I have, and I don't like any of the new books that are coming out. Aardvark likes to choose more weird books. I wouldn't even say weird. I would actually say more like cool books, like books that the cool girls read, the horror, the literary fiction, even the romance that the cool girls read, the fantasy, and that's just not me. I don't want to read no horror books. I don't want to read none of these romance books. I don't want to read none of these fantasy books. And so I said, I don't think Aardvark is for me. But let's see if I'm wrong. I am going to read the Aardvark books that I have, and I'm going to say if I give at least 2 of them 4 stars, I will keep my subscription. I will keep my subscription if I give 2 of them at least 4 stars, because it's like, oh, these are worth it. So these are the 4 books that I have. The first book is The Tainted Cup. See, I'm already giving Aardvark a fair chance because everybody loves this book by Robert Jackson Bennett. The sequel for this book is already out. This is actually the reason why I got Aardvark to begin with, because I knew I wanted this book and they had this special edition cover. And so I was just like, I can get this and I can get another book. So I got my hands on The Tainted Cup and we are going to read The Tainted Cup. Kenya is going to stick her foot back in fantasy. The next book we have is a book I would have read on my own, but I got it through Aardvark, and that is Disappoint Me by Nicola Dennon. I am excited to read this book, have no clue what this book is about. This is another white woman exhausted type of book, and you guys know those are hit or miss, but for some reason I keep having to read them to see, and so we are going to read Disappoint Me. The next book we are going to read is the book I fear I'm going to like the least. It is Immaculate Conception by Ling Ling Hong. I read Natural Beauty by this author and did not love it. And this is what I mean by the cool girl horror that Aardvark has. I don't think this is going to be for me, but since it was in Aardvark and I had to pick something, I got my hands on it. But if this wasn't in Aardvark, I would not have read this book. I just wouldn't have. And then last but not least is Moderation, another book that I may or may not have read if it was in Aardvark or not. I don't know, but I'm excited. I like the cover of this. We're going to see what this is about. I have no clue what this book is about, but I am excited to read it, and that's what we are going to do. Anyways, let's get into the video because this is going to probably be a long one because we have 4 pretty big books to get through, so I'll talk to you guys later. Hello, you guys. We have 4 full-length novels to get through in this video, so I'm not even gonna waste your damn time. We are starting with The Tainted Cup. I felt like taking on the most daunting book first because I told you guys in the intro, I don't greatly want to read any of these, but I have to see if Aardvark is worth the money. Like, should I continue using this book subscription box? So I said The Tainted Cup is number 1, the book that I've heard the most about. This book appears on people's favorite books of all time. When this book came out, it appeared on people's favorite books of the year. People love this book, and I always tell you guys, I am not a contrarian in spirit. I usually like what most people like, and so I expect to like this book. So this book is called The Tainted Cup. It is by Robert Jackson Bennett. This is my first Robert Jackson Bennett. I have never read from this author before. And yeah, I have made it to the halfway point of this book, believe it or not. In a day, we have read 200 pages of this book. First things first, I want to come and discuss how more people need to print on the hardcover. This is a special edition, but I don't think this should be a special edition type of thing. I think more books should print a cover on the hardcover instead of giving us sprayed edges. I declared a war on sprayed edges a long time ago. I think sprayed edges suck. Not only do they suck in the way that they look, but they also suck because they make your book so stiff and disgusting. Get rid of sprayed edges, and how about we do this? How about we do more of this? I think the sprayed edges thing caught on because the fourth wing. I feel like the fourth wing is the reason why we're in this sprayed edges hell. I don't know. But yeah, the Tainted Cup. I love this cover. So now I don't have to show you guys the dust jacket. Even though the dust jacket is pretty, I can just hold up this book. And I am on the halfway mark, so there's a lot that is going on, but let me just give you the gist of what is going on. So we are in this fantasy world where everyone works for the empire. The empire is basically like the world that they live in, the government that they live in. And everyone has their own job to do for the empire. So people don't really have like regular jobs. And if they have regular jobs is for the greater good of everybody else. You know what I'm talking about? So people ain't influencers, where you really don't add much to life when you think about it. Like everyone's job adds to people's lives. And we start off following this young man. This young man is being sent out to like a manor where he is to investigate a murder. There has been a call and someone has been murdered. When he gets inside this mansion, he sees that there is a man lying dead on the floor and there are trees growing out of him. So trees are growing out of his body. His mouth is open and he has never seen anything like this before. Now, he is not the lead investigator on this. He has somebody who he works for because there is a hierarchy to this empire, and he is pretty low on it. Not very low, but he is pretty low on it. And I say that everyone works towards the empire, but there are like maids and servants, as all empires must have. And so he's actually helping the investigation. He has a woman named Anna who is the lead investigator, who is actually very high up in the totem pole. He is working for her, but she doesn't leave the house, so he's going to investigate. So he goes around and he talks to all of the people who work at this mansion, and he gets everybody's, what happened. He gets their recall of the incident, and so he goes back and we meet Anna. We meet this woman who is this investigator, and we start learning about the powers that everybody has. Our main character, Den, that's his name is Den. He is an engraver, which basically means that he can remember everything. If he sniffs something, like he sniffs something specific, he can remember everything that happened in a moment, and he can directly recall it back to somebody. So he has like a memory that's just like everything he says is right because that's how he is. And people, you get changed by what you are in the empire. So you end up going through all types of training, like basically like military training. Then they decide where you should go in this order. And then they kind of change you in order to make you into this type of thing. Now, I don't know if everyone goes through this. We haven't gotten that many. We have gotten a lot of details about it, but like, who knows how all of this works for real, but it's pretty clear enough in the book. So he got changed into an engraver. And then we meet, like I said, the head investigator, Anna. She is all about the book. She is a middle-aged woman, and she is able to just she has a sense. Like she can just sense things. She can just understand things better than everybody is. But where I'm at in the book, we actually don't know what has been changed about her, what her exact thing is that makes her the way that she is. But basically, these two people are going to come together and try to solve what happened at this house. And to continue, they actually solve it rather quickly. They actually figure out who done it rather quickly. And this leads to an even bigger conspiracy that now they are being sent to the head of the empire to figure out. So these two people being sent to figure out why all of these people have been dying. Now, I told you everybody works for the empire. The reason why everybody works for the empire is because this empire has one big enemy. It is called the Titan. So there are these beasts that live in the water who try to take over this kingdom. And everybody's job is to try to stop these titans from being able to make it to land. During the wet season, these titans come and try to destroy this land. So everybody is working to try to stop these titans. But there's a lot of mystery surrounding all of that. But there's also mystery with our main character, Din. Something about the way he moved through his like military training is a little sketchy. Something about Anna. Anna is doing this job where this is the most exciting thing they have ever done. There really isn't many crimes to investigate, like big crimes. So Den is wondering why the hell Anna has all this skill, but why is she here doing all this kind of like stupid work? So she has her own secrets. The Empire has their own secrets. And then there's the conspiracy as to why all these people are dying in the same way. That's what is going on. Okay, first things first. When this book started, it was a lot in the sense that I don't usually read fantasy, and it was doing what I hate fantasy books do, like why I don't read fantasy books. Like a lot of words that mean absolutely nothing to me, a lot of world building that means absolutely nothing to me, a lot of characters that mean absolutely nothing to me until they do. You know how you have to use so much brain power when you start a fantasy novel because you're just like, here we go, all of these new made up words I have to invest in. And that's what was happening for the first 100 pages of this book. I'm like, here we go. But last night I read 60 pages. Last night before bed I read 60 pages, and them 60 pages was good as hell. So now I am fully in it. I am fully in it, and this is a ball. This is such a ball. So this 100% can be compared to Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia of Fairies. You have these two characters who are kind of odd coming together to solve stuff. The thing is, this is just more interesting. This has more meat on the bones. Number one, it's for an older audience. Emily and Wendell in Emily Wilde, they're very like, there's nothing really, edgy about that book. This book is more edgy, and also I think the characters are just simply better. Anna and Den are just like great. I just love them. I love their banter back and forth. I love that they both are keeping secrets from each other. It's so it can be compared to that, and it's just these two people just solving murders and figuring out what's going on in this empire. Also, the world building is better than Emily Wilde. I already told you guys, Emily Wilde is a perfectly fine series, even though I can't believe I read all three because it doesn't seem like a series I would continue in. But this is getting good. This is getting really, really good, and I see why people enjoy it. I see why people enjoy this more than I'm going to enjoy it. I think I'm, in the end, going to give this book 4.5 stars. Who knows? But I'm enjoying this one. I really, really am. Anyways, I got to go make a pot roast. I'm making a pot roast for dinner tonight. You guys, it is pot roast season every season in my house. Now it actually is because we're headed into fall, but it's pot roast season every day in my house. I always make a pot roast, but I'm making a pot roast, but first I got to go work out. And I will talk to you guys about this book actually once I finish it, because we got to get through 4 books. Once I finish it, I'll tell you guys, am I happy I got my hands on it? A limited edition copy. Anyways, I'll talk to you guys later. Peace. Guys, I am back to give you a reading wrap up and also give you a reading update. I have finished The Tainted Cup by Robert Jackson Bennett. And what are my thoughts after reading 400 pages of this book? This book was good. I can see why people greatly enjoy this book. It's the same reason why people enjoy Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia of Fairies. There are a group of people who are readers, who read fantasy books, who want a fantasy book but don't want a very, very high fantasy book, or maybe want a cozier experience, want a more simple experience. So they want to be in these fantasy worlds, but want it to be less simple. I want it to be more simple. They want it to be less of this warrior fighting this warrior, and I'm on a hero's quest. They want less of that and more of, I like the world, but I want to get in the world and do cozy things in that world. And that's the type of book this is. You are truly following these people who seem to be aliens almost. That's the best way to describe them. I didn't say that in the beginning. These aren't like people like me and you. They're weird colors. They have weird body parts. They're weird. They're different. Their eyes are purple. Anyways, and you're following them, and there's this entire world, and there's this entire empire, and maybe in another book, you would be following the people who fight these titans, the people who go to war, the people who are in the politics rooms and all of that. You would follow those people, but in this book, you are just following two people who investigate little odd murders that happen in this empire, and that is something that a lot of people are looking for. It's interesting, it's unique, and there is this truly just a mystery book, just a mystery of whodunit type of book, and it's really good in that way. I do think some things don't really appease me. The writing style of this book, this author uses a lot of words to say simple things. He uses a lot of words, a lot of sentences just to say like somebody just went to the store or someone just went to open up a cabinet. There's just a lot of words, and it's to give you like a vision of what's going on, but to me it just is annoying to read. And also this book kind of like the words that it uses that are just like unique to this world also don't really jive with me. So overall, I didn't really enjoy the writing greatly of this book. And also, I was talking about earlier how I like the two main characters. Our two main characters don't spend a lot of time with each other because scenes in this book carry on for a really, really long time. And I guess that would be my biggest complaint of this book. I think this book could be tighter, faster, quippier, and it could be 5 stars for me. Overall, though, I'm going to give this book 3.75 stars, and I will be reading the sequel. I kind of feel the same way I felt about this book. The same way, The Will of the Many. I feel almost the exact same way, where it's like, I get why people like this book. I think I expected to like it maybe a little bit more. Another thing why I know it's a 3.75 and not a 4. Usually when I read a 4-star book, there is like a 100-page stretch where I can't put it down. I'm like, ooh, this is good. This might be a 5-star. That never happened in this book. I felt the exact same way about this book the entire time. And it was like, it's good. 3.75. I give this book 3.75 book. I get why it's for some people. It's not my favorite book of the year, but it is enjoyable. And I'm happy I got it in Aardvark. This is what I think book subscription boxes are for. Like reading books that maybe aren't my taste, but I got it. I'm happy I got it. I'm happy it's on my bookshelf, and I'll read the sequel. It was a good time. So now we're going to completely shift gears. And we are going to move on to our next book, which is a contemporary fiction, which is more my speed. I do want to also say that I don't read fantasy books often. I'm a contemporary fiction type of girl. And we are going to read Disappoint Me. Now, this is one of the few books that has been on Aardvark that I was going to pick up on my own. This is a book that I knew was coming out and I was going to buy it for myself. And I was actually pleasantly surprised when I saw it on Aardvark because it was kind of the first time where it was a book that I like truly was going to go buy, and it was just there and I could just get it in my box. So this is by Nicola Dennon. I hope I pronounced that right. And in this book, because you guys, I am on page 130. So I made good progress in this book. In this book, we are following 2 characters. We are following a trans woman named Max, and we are following a Chinese boy named Vincent. These 2 people have met each other on a dating app, and they are just trying to navigate their relationship. As one of them, the trans woman, Max, she is dealing with trying to understand her sexuality, trying to understand her body, trying to understand where she stands in society and where she stands as someone who's in a relationship, but also not knowing if people really see her for who she is as a person and who she sees herself as. So understanding how she's perceived by other people and what expectations she has for other people, and also what expectations do people have on her, and what is her standing in society. Trying to understand who she is as a person. It's called Disappoint Me because she is always looking for the other shoe to drop. She always thinks someone or something is out to get her. She's a lawyer. She works at a law firm. She has a pretty good job. It's a well-paying job. She doesn't do much work, but she constantly says that, like, they pay me too much money for what I do. It's stupid. She's always looking for something negative. This guy, Vincent, who she is dating, she constantly asks him things that kind of like traps him. Like, she's trying to make sure he's actually okay with dating a trans woman. So she's constantly always trying to look for something to catch him up. Like, you don't actually like me as a trans woman. She has her parents. She doesn't really talk to her parents. She doesn't really talk to her parents about all the stuff that she's been through. She makes fun of her mom because her mom is like 25% Asian. And she makes fun of her mom because she says like her mom like tries to pretend like she's more Asian than she is, always looking for a problem in her mom, always looking. Her dad used to be an alcoholic, not an alcoholic anymore, and so he's kind of just like there, and she's always kind of looking like he's annoying, he did something. Like, she's always trying to find the negative in people. And so that's her. And then you have Vincent. Vincent is, like I told you, he is Chinese. He comes from a pretty okay type of family. And you actually are, when you are following him in his chapters, you're actually going back in time. So when you're following Max, she is telling the story of Max and Vincent present day. Actually, I think it's 2023. But when you go in Vincent's chapter, you're going back to him being in college. He took a gap year. Did he take a gap year? Or he went over to Hong Kong. He went over to Hong Kong to do some vacationing after he graduated from high school. And you're following him there, and him having a relationship with a woman named Alex, and everything that's going on there. So you're getting to know who he is as a person back before that would get him to this situation that he is in. It's an interesting way that this book is being told. And so that's what you're really following. You're following this relationship of these two people as they're trying to understand one another, but they can't quite get there. They can't quite get there. And they both have these preconceived notions that they're trying to block out, and they're trying to just see if they can exist in the world. This book is really good. This book is really good. I find it interesting how the last book I read about a trans woman was Detransitions Baby. And I think most people know Detransition Baby is like the mountaintop of like trans media. Like, if you tell somebody, I want to read a book about trans people, they're going to give you Detransition Baby. And Detransition Baby is actually mentioned many times in this book in an interesting way. This way of how people read Detransition Baby and think they know so much about the trans community, but like, do you? Do you actually? And like taking those things you've learned and like putting them into real world. That's what this book is. Like putting all of that into the real life. And it makes you ask yourself a lot of questions. Like if you were in Max's shoes, if you were in Vincent's shoes and wanting to get things right. And you have these two characters who are like as woke as can be, right? As woke as can be. And they're trying so hard and you want it to work so bad. But you also, as the reader, understand why things are difficult. Like it's easy to say like, oh, all of this stuff should just be normal and all this stuff. But like we all live in the real world and we know how people are. We know you can't exist in vacuums. You have to exist within society, and it's hard, you know? And so these two people in their relationships, and then on top of that, the baggage of just like existing, like your relationship isn't the only baggage you have. You have baggage from every part of your life. So bringing that into everything that's going on, but it's actually really good. And then I hope this relationship worked. I say all that to say this. I hope they end up together. This isn't a romance book, so I don't think it's like that. But like, I hope it all just works out because you just want it to. You're rooting for these two characters. Now, I will say Max is an interesting character. I do think maybe I'm being, I don't know. You like Vincent more. I hope I'm not speaking out of turn when I say this. You like Vincent more as a character because Vincent comes across as more vulnerable. Going back to when he was younger and hearing the stuff he went through when he was abroad, and then seeing him put himself out there for Max, it seems like he does a lot of heavy lifting in the relationship. And Max, because of her identity, because she's a trans woman, she keeps a lot of things not only to her chest with the characters in the story, but also to the reader. I think it's intentional that the writer of this book writes Max as more of a wall. There's a wall between Max and you, where Vincent is more open. Vincent is kind of an open book in a lot of ways. Max isn't. Max doesn't give the reader a lot. Even though you follow Max most of this book, you really don't know Max, you know? And I think that's intentional. And so I think it's kind of trying to show how like being a cis heterosexual person like Vincent is, it's kind of easy to be open because there's expectations. And Vincent meets most of those expectations, except for the fact he's with a trans person. That's really the only like blockage in his life of trying to explain to people how he's not gay, but he's with a trans woman because it doesn't work that way, and explaining to his family all of these things. That's only blocking his life. But Max has a lot of blocks. She is somebody who has transitioned. She is somebody who, like, she talks about how she has photos at her house, at her parents' house, from when she hadn't transitioned yet, and how she told her parents to put those away. She's dealing with the fact that her dad almost burnt down a house when she was younger. She's dealing with the fact her dad's an alcoholic. Her mom fake Chinese. She's dealing with all of this stuff. And so she puts a lot of walls up, and she tries to be quippy in order to get people not to tear those walls down. Anyways, I say all that to say this. This book is actually really, really good. I've been reading it slow. For a book I'm enjoying, I read it really slow for some reason, but I am enjoying it. And we can say this cover is great, right? This cover is really, really great. Woman exhausted on the cover. But yeah, so this actually, shockingly, for a subscription box that I've already canceled, we might be 2 for 2. We might be 2 for 2 on like books that like I enjoyed. I don't know. But I did want to come and tell you I enjoyed this book. And I'm going to finish this book. And then we're going to have to talk fall. Next time y'all see me, we're going to have to talk fall because I got some fall things. And you guys, fall is in like 8 days. Fall is when I'm recording this. Fall is in like 8 days. We gotta get the things out. I have to go to my storage unit to get my fall stuff because it's time. It is time. My birthday is coming up soon. It is time for all of that stuff. Hello, you guys. I'm here to do a final reading update on Disappoint Me by Nicola Denton. I hope I haven't been saying this book is called Disappointment. It's Disappoint Me. Okay, I'm of two minds with this book. Number one, I really enjoyed this book through and through. There wasn't a lull, there wasn't a lag. I was in it the entire time. But when I look at the book as a whole, I do find issues with the book. My biggest issue with this book is our main character, Max. I don't think Max really adds much to the white girl, depressed, sad, trying to figure out where she stands in life, having a really like sad dating life, like what's next for her, this like not even midlife crisis, this like quarter life crisis. She doesn't really add much to that, and her being trans doesn't add more depth to it. I think this book is using this trans character, and it's good to get a book like this from a trans woman, like having a trans woman be at the center of this type of book. But I don't necessarily believe it adds anything to like white girl exhausted type of book. I don't think it adds anything. The most interesting part is her being trans, but I've read better books about trans women trying to come into their identity. I think the most interesting thing that this book is doing is talking about how when you are a trans woman and you go against pretty much everything everyone says in society by just existing, you still having this want for some type of normal, some type of like assimilation almost. You do want the things that a lot of people tell you you shouldn't want because you're queer or because you're trans or because you're all this. There is a part of you that still wants all the things that society tells you you should want. And I do think that is an interesting thing that this book is exploring. But I think Max as a main character is just a little flat as a main character. And so you have these two characters, Vincent and Max, and Vince is a cis male. He's actually the more interesting party. When we're in his mind, it's actually when the book is at its best, and it's actually when the book has the most interesting things to say, actually, which is crazy. I shouldn't think, you guys know I don't like reading books from the point of view of cis men, but like it is when this book is the most interesting, because everything else in Max just seems kind of like expected. She doesn't say anything that's just like something you haven't heard in other books. So I just didn't really enjoy Max as a main character. I didn't enjoy being in her head. Her archetype was like know-it-all millennial, well-off, has a well-off family, hates her parents. Like, it's just, you've seen it before. Everything she does, she's seen it. She has her snarky best friend. Even though she's so depressed and sad, she somehow has a very active social life, and all these people in her life who care about her, but she doesn't really care about them because, they don't get her. It was just really run-of-the-mill when it comes to Max. And like I said earlier, we also get kept at kind of a distance from Max. But then when you get in Vincent's head, it's a lot more vulnerable when it comes to Vincent's chapters. And then the last chapter, the second to last chapter of this book, last chapter, we get a complete perspective change where we start following Vincent in the present day. And that chapter is better than I think any Max chapter we got the entire book. So I am going to give this book 3.5 stars. I say that to say this. I do think this is a 3.5 star book, but I did enjoy this book. So I put it actually, I'm going to give it 3.75. I put it exactly with the Tainted Cup. I feel exactly the same way about both of them. So yeah, that was that on that. Anyways, it is fall. When you guys are literally watching this, it is fall. So I need to come and do a fall haul. I am not somebody who decorates for fall early. I don't believe in rushing it. I don't like summer. I've never liked summer. I don't believe in rushing summer away. I feel like when you rush life, you make life not worth living. I see summer all the way through. I try to make the most out of summer, even though I don't like summer. So I don't like decorating for fall until it gets to be fall time. So I have some new goodies that I got for the season, because I'm always getting things. This is just my favorite time of the year. It's my man's birthday around this time. It's my birthday around this time. My siblings have birthdays around this time. It's just a good time of the year. So my mom purchased me some things, and I have to come show you what my mom got me. Come take a look at this. Look at this, you guys. This is from Marshalls. This is from Marshalls, and just look how stinking cute this is. Luckily, I do not have kids or dogs or anything or cats, so I do not have to worry about this breaking because this is very fragile, but I just think this is freaking gorgeous. Just look at it. Look at the detailing. It just looks so damn good. I love it. I love it. I love it. Like this thing where the bottom looks cracked. I just think it looks great. I literally think it looks great. I literally think it looks so freaking awesome. Let's go into the next thing I got. My mom purchased this stuff for me a month ago. So I don't even remember how it looks. Ooh, it's another one. It's another one of these, almost just like that. Look at it. Look how cute these are. And I think I'm going to put them I'm going to break these. I'm going to put them right beside one another somewhere. Maybe they'll be on my table. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to put them on the table because I think they would look the best on the table. That is so cute. I have one more thing my mom bought me. Okay, I think there's two things in this. By the way, I was with my mom when she purchased this stuff. So it's not like she picked this stuff out. She just paid for it. But I picked out the stuff. So the next thing that my mommy got me. Okay, this is more Halloweenish. Look at this. Just look at that. This is gorgeous. This is gorgeous. I just like getting pieces for the holidays that you can just have for years and years and years to come. And that is all of this stuff. It's also cute. And then the last thing I got, I remember it was a candle. My mom was like, Kenya, you should get this. And so she got me this candle. Isn't this so cute? Isn't this so freaking adorable? So that is what my mom purchased me. But then I went to go get a facial the other day, and I was by a Bath and Body Works. I am not a huge Bath and Body Works girl, the same way I'm not a big Home Goods Marshall girl. That's why I'm happy my mom bought this stuff for me, because I would have never purchased it for myself, but I'm happy I have it. But I went in there, I wanted to see what the plugins they had, and they did not disappoint me, because look at this. All of these are going to go upstairs. I already have some for downstairs. So these, I decided like for upstairs, my loft area, I can go a little bit fun. So look at that. That is so cute. And then I got my favorite one. Look how cute this is. Just so cute. And then maybe this is my favorite one. I don't know. Look how cute. Look how cute. So I got my hands on 3 plugins. And like I said, all of this stuff is just stuff that you can keep for so many years. That's why I love buying stuff for the holidays, because like, I don't remember what's in my storage bins, but once I open it up and see all the stuff I've collected over the years, I don't know if I'm gonna, maybe I should just do all pumpkins this year. Maybe my theme should just be all, I can look and see what I wanna do. I might just do all pumpkins, maybe no spooky, all pumpkin. I don't know, I have so much stuff now. And then the scents I got for the plugins, I decided to go with Harvest Gathering. Those are the scents I decided to do. And then obviously, if you've been on YouTube for literally as long as YouTube has been around, you know when it's fall time, you know what scent you gotta get from Bath and Body Works. And it is leaves. You gotta get the leaves scent from Bath and Body Works. So I also got leaves. That's what I'm gonna do for the fall season. And then lastly, and you can go, this is all the stuff. I'm not buying any more stuff for fall, by the way. I'm gonna go get some candy, and that is it. I'm gonna go to Dollar Tree and get candy, and that is it. Because I don't shop at Target anymore, it's so easy for me not to buy stuff, because usually in the seasons before, I would go to Target like every couple of weeks, and there'd be stuff, and I'd be like, I gotta get this. But I haven't been to Target all year, and so like, I don't know what the hell Target has, and so I don't know what's going on. So I decided to get this pumpkin apple candle, and I think this will be perfect for like my downstairs vibe. And I think this smells so good. It has that like fallish smell, you know, the cinnamons, the vanilla, but it has a sweetness to, like, it has a freshness to it as well that doesn't make it so like, oh my gosh, here come the pumpkin bitch. And then for upstairs, because you guys know I say upstairs, I'm doing a little bit more crazy. I just decided this was just a cute candle that I'm gonna put on my fireplace. It smells very fall. Gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous. And I only got 2 candles. I'm not a big candle girl. This year I've dipped and dabbled a little bit more in candles, but I'm not a big candle girl. So anyways, that's my haul. We have to move on to our next books. I think we're going to read Moderation as our next book, and then we're gonna save Immaculate Conception for last, because it's the book I want to read the least. So I'm saving it for last. That'll be the last book I read this month. Anyways, so far so good though, by the way. Tainted Cup I enjoyed. Disappoint Me I enjoyed. Aardvark, you don't owe me nothing yet. Anyways, I will talk to you guys later. Hello, you guys. I'm here to come talk about our next book, and it is Immaculate Conception by Ling Ling Hong. I decided to pick this book up on audio because, quite frankly, I wasn't in the mood to read it physically, and I want to be able to get through all of the books in this video. So I'm reading physically Moderator, which you'll hear about in the next clips after I finish this. And then I'm reading via audio Immaculate Conception by Ling Ling Hong. Now you're like, Kenya, how did you choose what book to read audio, what book to do physically? I don't do horror. Horror is the genre that I read from the least. And when I am looking at books that I want to read in the coming year, or looking at books from subscription box like Aardvark, I am never going to choose the horror selection. I am more willing to choose the fantasy, science fiction, literary fiction, thriller, romance. I am more willing to pick that than I am to pick horror, because I just have never found a horror book that speaks to me greatly. I don't know if I really believe in horror as a genre. Every time I read a horror book, I never know what I'm supposed to leave feeling. And even when I read Natural Beauty by Ling Ling Hong, I liked the contemporary parts of the book, but then when it got into the more horror, the book kind of goes off the rails intentionally. I wasn't there for it, and I ended up giving the book 3 out of 5 stars. And that's what happens to me with almost every horror book. And so it gets to the point where it seems like psychological horror is the only horror I like, which I feel like if you only like psychological horror, do you really like horror to begin with, So anyways, I wanted to give this book a fair chance. And I think the most fair I could be is to read it on audio. So I could do something else and see what's going on in this book. So let me tell you what's going on in this book. We are following one woman, and she is in art school. She comes from, so this is not necessarily like a world that we live in. We're in a different type of world. And she comes from a very different background than everyone in her art school. She was never introduced to the types of art that other people were based on her government, that the places she was from, it's different, okay? Stay with me. Where she's from is different. So when she goes to this art school and she's around a bunch of American people, she notices that they are able to pull from different places and they understand art in a way that she doesn't. So she's kind of like exiled. She doesn't really have a lot of friends. But there's this other girl who is really, really praised and people love her work. She is also an exile, but she's an exile because she's just better than everyone. So our two girls make friends with one another. And this starts us on a before timeline and a later timeline. In the later timeline, our girl who is her name is Matilde? Whatever. Our girl who is very, very, successful and, smart and brilliant, she is missing. She is missing. No one knows where she is. And our main character is looking for her. In the past timeline, we're getting to know the friendship between these two girls. And these two girls kind of have a relationship where one of them is really successful, but that success allows her to not be grounded almost. She's looking for vulnerability. She's looking for a place where she can just be normal. And our main character gives her that. And her exchange, she gets to be around someone who everyone thinks is amazing. So that's kind of the trade-off in their relationship. But very quickly, one character becomes way more successful. Our main character kind of gets stopped in her tracks when it comes to her art because AI has come into the fold. AI has come into the fold, and there's this public domain where people just put artificial photos on the place and people copyright those artificial photos. And if you have made art that looks like these photos, you no longer have ownership of your own art because someone kind of made AI of your intellectual property. And that kind of makes all of these artists kind of useless because you can just go on this public domain and pull up artificial art and boom, everyone has it. So she kind of has to go and do other stuff. But the girl who she was friends with in art school is just getting more and more successful because her stuff is so unique. No one can really, outdo the doer because her stuff is so unique. So those are the two timelines we're dealing in where one. So we go back and we go forward in time where this girl has gotten even more success, but she is missing. And then we have what happened when they were in art school that would kind of lead them on two different trajectories. Now, that is what I am willing to give you. But I was reading the synopsis to come and see what to come and talk to you guys about. And I was kind of spoiled. I am halfway through this book, you guys. Halfway through this book. This book has switched over to a new part. And the thing that happens in the synopsis hasn't happened in the book yet. So I guess I can tell you this. She ends up meeting this guy who does this weird like science. So this book also has a science fiction element as well, which so did Natural Beauty. There's a science fiction element where people can take the brains of other people and inhabit their experiences. Stay with me. You can take the brain out of any living thing and basically become that thing, you can put their brain in your brain basically and have your experience and have their experience. She meets this guy who is doing this, but there's a huge accident and it kind of sets the project back, and she goes back to America to do her own damn thing. And that's when she kind of links back up with the girl who has become really successful. They find out she's not missing. All of this matters because in the synopsis they tell me she is going to undergo a process that could link her and this girl forever. That hasn't happened where I am in the book. So halfway through the book, the synopsis is already spoiled how all of this stuff is going to come together. I know I'm all over the place with this. It's kind of hard to explain a horror book, but at the root of this book is a conversation about ownership. It's a conversation about AI. It's a conversation about authentic art. It's a conversation about what is new, what is old, what is owed to artists, what is owed to technology. Will technology outlive us all? Is there any value in technology? Is there any value in artificial intelligence? It's all of that. And this book is like good when it's dealing with the relationship between these two girls, this back and forth on their friendship and wanting to outdo each other. And this book had some really interesting quotes about like why certain women are put on pedestals and what does that represent for the rest of women, and all why they give certain people stuff. Ideas about desirability, something Ling Ling Hong always does really well. But when the book is dealing with like AI, it's kind of on the nose. That's what I wanted. That's my biggest takeaway of the first half of this book. Very on the nose. Even if I wasn't spoiled by the synopsis, I kind of already knew where this book was gonna go. Nothing being done in this book hasn't been done better. And because AI and AI art has been at the forefront of conversations the past 2 years, like this just feels like a very timely book. But I don't know if it's adding anything to I don't think anyone is going to read this book and feel any different about AI than they already did, and that's good or bad. Like, I don't think it's like, ooh, I didn't think about that. Like, no, especially because like even with AI, the conversation that this book is having has been done for like 40 years. You can go read a book, go read 1989. And you will see books having this exact same conversation about like what technology will do to us as people. So I don't know. I'm not really blown away by what this book has to say, but I do think the characters are good. I think there's some good character stuff. It's not as like horror as you would maybe expect it to be, but Ling Ling Hong never is that horror. I think as the book goes on, you would get more into horror territory, which I am appreciating. Don't take it that I'm not enjoying this book. I am enjoying this book as much as I think I would enjoy this book. I'm reading Moderator at the exact same time. You can't see physically, and so like these books are kind of doing the exact same thing a little bit, and so I'm all jumbled up in the mind, and it's only but so much AI. I find AI conversations just as boring as I find AI. That's my truth. I find conversations about AI just as boring as I find AI. So therefore, this type of book just doesn't do anything for me because I am a person who craves authenticity, and AI will never do anything for me here or there. I will never be a ChatGPT girl. I crave real. You can tell by the way I am. I crave authenticity. And so these types of conversations just don't do anything for me because I can't relate to someone who would deeply want AI, and I also don't personally want AI. I don't know, you guys. I'm a mess. At this point in the video, everything's a mess. I do think I'm going to probably end up, when this is all said and done, giving this book 3 stars, the same thing I gave Natural Beauty, and that's why I got to quit Aardvark because like there's so many horror picks. And like, if you're a cool horror girl, it's for you. But if you're someone like me who like craves the contemporary, who craves the everyday story, that's not for me. But this book does have some legs. Like I said, when you're dealing with these two girls' relationships, I actually think that is done really well. Anyways, I'm going to finish that, and I will talk to you guys later. You guys can see I started putting out some pumpkins. Y'all see that in the next vlog. Don't worry about that. Y'all see that in the next vlog. I will talk to you guys later. Peace. Hello, you guys. It is the end of the night, and I have finished Immaculate Conception by Ling Ling Hong. And like, this book is enjoyable enough if you read it on audio like I did, but it's just not great. Something about the writing of this book feels incomplete. It almost feels like this was a longer book, and then the editors came in and edited it down to make it a certain length, and it's missing like key moments. For like example, something will happen in this book and it has huge implications, but when you were in the scene, it didn't seem like it mattered that much. And also, the time and pacing of this book is odd. Also, following the timeline of the stuff that's happening in this book is odd. At certain moments, this book feels slow, but then it also feels rushed. And then the scientific elements, the sci-fi horror elements, because I would say this is like scientific horror, those elements, like, I don't even think it's all that well fleshed out for you to really get into it, for you to really sink your teeth into it. So when you get some of the goops and gags that come at the end, they just don't feel really earned. Also, you kind of don't care. Like, this was a 3-star book for me. I do think Natural Beauty is the better book. This one didn't fully work for me. I was expecting this book to just have more to say, be more interesting, and it wasn't. Like, I think a lot of people go into Ling Ling Hong wanting maybe a little bit weird. This book isn't all that weird. It's not very horrific. The science fiction elements aren't well done. I don't think it has anything all that nuanced to say in it, but it is like an enjoyable tale. I don't regret reading this book, especially going into October. It feels really good. And also, I said this book has a pacing issue, and we know that it does because I told you guys the synopsis gives away the entire book. The thing that happens in the synopsis doesn't happen to like 3/4 into the book, and that's why I say something weird must have happened with the editing, where like this was a longer book that they shortened because it just feels incomplete. Something feels incomplete about it. So I just didn't love it, you guys. I did not love it. I am happy that I picked it up on audio because I do think I enjoyed that experience more than I would have enjoyed it physically. But yeah, and that just adds to more reasons why I'm just going to have to give up Aardvark. Like, these weird books, books that I would have never picked up this book on my own. So much so, actually, I remember when this book was announced that it was coming out, and I literally told myself, ooh, I'm not going to read this book because it just didn't seem up my alley. And like, boom. It's not even like it wasn't up my alley. I just don't even think it was all that well done. Like I said, it wasn't really a horror book. It really wasn't a sci-fi book. It was kind of just a tale. The best part of the book is, like I said earlier, about their friendship. But yeah, everything just seemed half-baked. Even there's a story. This book is called Immaculate Conception because the girl ends up getting like pregnant artificially. And even that isn't fleshed out, and it's a big part of the book. Like, what happens in that situation leads to the entire, like, last act of the book and what would happen in the end. And it's just like, it was so rushed. It felt like, oh, this was supposed to matter more. Like, what's going on here? It wasn't great. You guys, we are done with that one. That is going to be the book I like the least so far in this. If I give the Tainted Cup, I'm going to give the Tainted Cup like 4 stars. Might as well. If I give Disappoint Me, I've been thinking about Disappoint Me, and I think I'm good at giving Disappoint Me 3.5. Do I want to give Disappoint Me 3 point? Look, I said I'm good at it, and now I'm thinking it through. I feel like 3 is too low. 3.5. And then I'm going to give this 2 stars. I'm going to give this 2 stars. And the reason why I don't want to give this book 2 stars is because it means I'm going to have to get rid of it. And I didn't want to get rid of any of these Aardvark books, but I think I am going to get rid of this book. This book, I don't think it's going to stay. in there because I probably won't read. Like, Natural Beauty just had more going on. I don't know. I just didn't think I would like a book less than I like Natural Beauty. And I did. I thought Natural Beauty had some interesting things to say, but this one didn't. Anyway, we're moving on to moderation. I have already gotten through this a little bit. I'm almost halfway through it. I'm about to read before bed, and I will come and give you guys some early morning thoughts about this tomorrow, okay? Hello, you guys. Today is the last day of the vlog. If you can believe it, this vlog has been going on for like 2 weeks. I went through like a diet reading slump where between Disappointment and Immaculate Conception, there was like a whole week where I didn't read anything except the book club book. That's what put me in a reading slump. So this vlog has been going on for like 2.5 weeks. But today is the last day of the vlog because today is the last day of the month. And I have to put this vlog up today. But luckily for me, I am almost finished with Moderation by Elaine Castillo. Anyways, let me tell you what this book is about. In this book, we are following a 40-year-old woman who lives in Las Vegas, and she is Filipino, and she works at a moderation center. So basically, there's this big company that gets like leased out to social media companies, and it is the job of our main character and the people who work with her to go through flag content to see if it's actually like bad content or if it's just like bad content that people can see. So for example, trigger warning, she does like sexual assault and rape and all of that. So they send her videos of people being sexually assaulted, and she has to see if it's actually sexual assault or if minors are involved and all of that, and she flags it, and then that gets sent to the social media company, and then they ban the user and ban the video. And so basically this job is like a revolving door. People don't stay very long because it's rather gruesome. You have to watch gruesome, horrible videos of people being killed, animals being killed, people being sexually assaulted, people killing themselves, all types of things like that. But she has been there for 10 years, and she pretty much says that the job hasn't really affected her. She goes to this job. It makes her a decent living. She's there to pay off her family's mortgage because during the 2008 housing crisis, they went into extreme foreclosure on 3 houses, and so they were only able to keep one, and that's the one in Las Vegas. So she helps her mother, who is a nurse, pay off their mortgage, and like it's kind of her whole family's job to keep this house because this house kind of represents their upward mobility in America. She is a first-generation Filipino woman, like I told you. And so the big thing, what gets this book moving, is that there is a new company afoot, and they are a virtual reality company, and they need moderators to basically be in this virtual reality world and stop people from doing weird things in the virtual reality world. And so they bring her into it to have her be a moderator. And so through this, she has met a man named William who is like really high up in this company. They're kind of hitting it off. And basically you're trying to get to know, her name is Girly. You're trying to get to know Girly and who she is as a person. How has doing this job affected her? Where is her place in life? And also you're getting into the mind of like virtual reality, because we get to learn a lot about this virtual reality stuff and like how people act in these worlds. You get to learn about artificial intelligence, what effect that has on human beings. And that's what's going on in this book. If you remember earlier in the clip, in the video, I was talking about how Immaculate Conception and this book were kind of hitting on the same things, like with artificial intelligence and all of that stuff. This book is actually rather enjoyable and easy to read. I like the main character. She's a different type of main character where she is very smart, and she's very like on top of things. I read a lot of books with main characters who are almost silly, almost childlike. They don't really have a grip on life. She has a very firm grip on life, and it's really good to read from a main character who seems to be sure of herself and what she wants out of life and like have a stable footing in life. And so that's really interesting. And also this is like, I've never read a book about a moderator of a social media network. So that's also really interesting. And when this book is telling this story about this woman living in Las Vegas and getting to know these people who are heads of these companies and this new job, it's really, really interesting. It could be a 4-star book. The problem is this book does this thing I hate. Millennial writers love to do this, where like they have their character go off on tangents to prove that the author is really, really smart. So the author clearly has special interests, and the author is really learned in some area of life. And so in order for the reader to feel like the author is very smart and very astute, they have the main character go on little tangents, and you're supposed to look at these tangents like, wow, that's so smart. And even worse, in this book, you're also, I think, supposed to find some of the tangents kind of funny. The main character kind of interjects her own little like witty, snarky comments when people are talking or something, and I don't find it funny, and I don't find the tangents all that clever or astute. I just find it to be rambling for the sake of rambling, filling up pages to fill up pages, and it almost feels like the author is trying to like get around having to write the actual story that is there. And so I never enjoy it in any book that it's in. I'm just like, this is supposed to be funny and clever, but I find it silly and pointless. And so when the book is doing that, I'm just like, get to the fucking point. But it's still enjoyable though. This is not a book that I think is not worth the squeeze. Like, something in this is actually endearing. I don't know what it is, but something here is worth reading, because it's not something I read often. So I'm liking it. And if this wasn't an Aardvark book, would I have picked this book up? Probably. I probably would have picked this book up if it wasn't, but I'm happy that it was. And this is what I go into book subscription boxes looking for, actually. Books that it's just like, I don't know if it's my taste, but since I can get it in a book subscription box, I'll go for it. So for this to be the last book, I'm actually like happy about it. And I do think this is what Aardvark is for. A weird book, might not have read it on my own, might have, but I got it, and I'm actually enjoying myself. I can see this book going as low as 3, as high as 4.5. I will say, I don't know where this book is going. I have 100 pages left, and I don't know where it's taking me. So there's that on that. But anyways, it's enjoyable. It's early in the morning, so I don't really have my thoughts together. But just know, the writing style isn't for me at all. But I do think the plot and the characters are good. That's how I'm feeling. Anyways, I will talk to you guys when I finish this, and we're going to wrap this video right on up, okay? Hello, you guys. We are here to close out the video. I want to come and give my final thoughts on Moderation by Elaine Castillo. You guys, the last 100 pages of this book are really, really good and really, really sentimental and really, really well done. So I think I'm going to go ahead and give this book 4 stars, because why be so strict? I enjoyed my reading experience of this book through and through. I do think there's some things that could be cleaner. There's some things that could have been edited away. And I don't really know if I would read another book from this author, but overall, I enjoyed myself in this book. And I think when this book is actually telling the story that the author wants to tell and it has conviction, it's really, really good. And I think when she gets rid of all the fluff that is thrown in there, there's a really strong narrative in here. And so I'm just going to go ahead and give it 4 stars. Why be so strict? Moderation is a win for me. The other win that we had was the Tainted Cup. The further I get away from this book, the more I don't really think about this book. I am not dying to read the sequel of this book. I am going to read the sequel. It is my birthday next month, so like I can get this book for a gift, and you know, it'll be nice to have, and I'll read it at some point next year. But I do think I am good with giving this book 3.75, and that's kind of messy because you're going to think I'm giving this book 3.75, so I don't give it the 4-star and have to keep going with Aardvark. But even if I gave it 4 stars, I'd still decide if I wanted to quit Aardvark or not. Doesn't matter. But yeah, I am going to give this 3.75. I enjoyed this book a lot, but I didn't love this book. And I did enjoy Moderation. I enjoyed this book more than I enjoyed this book. So I know this can't be a full 4. And neither of them are 5 stars from me. And then we have Disappoint Me. This is another book. The further I get away from it, the more I go a little colder on it. I think I'm going to land this at a 3.25 overall, like I said in the clips about this book, I just don't think this book had a lot to say that we hadn't seen from other books. I did find the way that the story is told to be interesting, and I did find the character of Vincent to be a really interesting and compelling character. Unfortunately, there isn't enough of him in the book, and so I didn't love this one. I could have, though. I could have loved this book. It had all the makings of something I could deeply love, but it didn't quite get there. And the worst book that I read in this video is Immaculate Conception. This is on me. I already knew I probably wasn't going to like this book, and I want to get that out of the way. But then as I read this book wasn't heavy on the horror. It had sci-fi elements, horror elements, and, you know, some mystery elements afoot, but it didn't do any of those things, like, aggressively. So, like, I could have enjoyed this book. I just don't think this book was well done. I think there was a lot left on the cutting room floor, and I just think there was pieces there that could have worked. I just don't think this was overall a convincing narrative and something that was done really well for me to love it. And that's that on that. So will I be continuing Aardvark? Unfortunately for you guys, tomorrow is October 1st, and unlike Book of the Month, Aardvark puts out their new selections on the 1st. Book of the Month kind of puts theirs out a couple days before. So I wish I could look and see what the October picks are in this moment. I won't be able to see that till tomorrow. But I don't think I am. I think this is like good. I probably like, okay, this is why I'm not going to continue Aardvark. The Tainted Cup, I already knew about, would have got on my own even if I didn't have a book subscription box. Moderation, I knew about it before it got on Aardvark. Immaculate Conception, I knew about before it got on Aardvark. And Disappoint Me. So these are 4 books that already would have came in my pathway. And the books that I wouldn't have gotten, I know I wouldn't have gotten if not for Aardvark, is Immaculate Conception. And it's the book I enjoyed the least. So I just don't see anything, like any reason for me to get Aardvark. I don't know, the books, I will say, this is what I am going to give Aardvark. Aardvark has amazing quality. The quality of an Aardvark book is so much better than the quality. My Book of the Month books are up there. So much better than Book of the Month. I think the worst thing about Book of the Month books are the hardbacks. The quality of the hardback. They get stained really easily. They shift very easily. Aardvark books are so well done. They feel so smooth. The quality is 10 times better than Book of the Month. If you are someone who has an issue with quality and want one of your books to be durable, I would stay so far away from Book of the Month, and I would look into getting Aardvark because the quality is so much better. The dust jackets, way better than Book of the Month. Book of the Month has these flimsy, like, dust jackets that like break, tear easily. No, when it comes to quality, Aardvark is 100% there, and that's the only reason why I'm like, maybe I shouldn't stop. And I love getting books in the mail. I love getting book boxes in the mail. That's another reason. And I'm nosy. I am so nosy. I want to see what's going to be the books for October, but I don't think I'm going to continue. Definitely not for October, November, December. Maybe in January I'll pick it back up, but I don't think I'm the audience for Aardvark. I don't think I'm cool enough for Aardvark. But if you're someone who commonly finds yourself being like, I want to read, but like when I go on TikTok, all of the people on TikTok are talking about the same books and, you know, they don't really tickle my fancy, I think you should give Aardvark a try. I think you will find things that really aren't up, that you really don't hear a lot of people discuss that you might like. I think that's what Aardvark is good for. And also, if you're someone who doesn't like the big symbol that Book of the Month puts right there and right there, you probably can't even tell that there's an Aardvark symbol on this book. It's right there. Right there. You can't tell because they do a good job of blending it in there. Even on here, it's down here. On the Tainted Cup, this is a limited edition, so it's really hard to tell, but it's inside there, so you really would never be able to tell. Maybe Moderation is the one you can see it the most, but even then, in the camera, it's blending in. So yeah, that's my thoughts. I'm happy I got through all 4 of them, and I will talk to you guys in the next one.